Okay, so get this. Shawn Mendes. He's opening up
Oh, yeah.
about his sexuality and dating life. Good time.
Wow. That's pretty huge.
Yeah, and People magazine has this whole article. It just came out today, October 29th. It's called Shawn Mendes Says He's Still Figuring Out His Sexuality. It feels really scary.
Feels really scary. Well, that's honest.
Right? And we're going to dive into all this, see what he's saying, what it might mean.
And what it means for all of us, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is relatable stuff.
Totally. And the way he did this, it wasn't some carefully worded statement or, an Instagram post or something.
Yeah.
He just said it right there on stage at his concert at Red Rocks.
Whoa. Okay, so picture this, right?
Yeah.
Thousands of fans, music is pumping,
Yeah.
and he just stops everything to talk about something this personal.
Yes.
Brave.
It is. And he even starts by weaving in these lyrics from his new song, The Mountain. It's like he's preempting the haters,
Setting the stage. So what's he singing?
Okay, so he sings, "Some days I have a change of heart. You can say what you need to say. You can say I'm too young. You can say I'm too old. You can say I like girls or boys. Whatever fits your mold."
Whatever fits your mold. Huh. That's powerful stuff.
It is, almost defiant.
Totally defiant. He's pushing back against all that pressure to fit into a box, especially when it comes to sexuality.
Yeah, nope, not playing that game. And then he gets even more real with the crowd, talks about how figuring out his sexuality, it's felt like people are prying into something really private.
That word prying, that's intense. It really shows how much this all means to him.
And how uncomfortable the spotlight can be.
Exactly. Especially when you're still figuring yourself out, which, let's be honest, can be scary for anyone.
So true. Even without a stadium full of people watching you, just figuring out who you are, it can be daunting.
And there's all this societal pressure, right?
Okay.
About what you should be.
Ugh. Yeah. And instead of just rushing to label himself, Mendes actually says that sexuality is beautifully complex. It shouldn't be squeezed into these neat little boxes.
Right. And that really reflects what we're learning more and more these days. Sexuality, it's a spectrum.
It's not always about fixed categories or labels. It's about giving yourself the freedom to just explore.
Yeah, to discover who you are without judgment. From yourself and from everyone else.
And it's not just about labels. He talks about dating, too. Says he's letting go of that whole finding the one pressure.
That's interesting. Instead of searching for that perfect soulmate, he's just seeing what happens.
Yeah, focusing on genuine connections, letting love unfold organically wherever it might lead.
That's a pretty big shift in perspective, isn't it? It's not about the destination, it's about the journey.
The messy, unpredictable journey of being human. And you know what else he said? He said everyone needs a little bit of cuddling, a little bit of hugging.
He's not wrong.
Yeah.
We all need that human connection, right? It's kind of fundamental.
Yeah, totally. But here's the thing. This isn't the first time Mendes has had to deal with all these rumors.
Oh, right. Remember that interview he did back in 2020? The one on the Armchair Expert podcast?
Exactly. And it's interesting to compare how he's talking about it now versus then. Back then, he was frustrated.
Yeah, even angry about all the speculation.
Especially because he had close friends who were struggling to come out on their own terms.
He talked about how unfair it felt, like he was being forced to speak for others when they weren't ready.
It makes you wonder what's changed for him in these past 4 years.
Has he done some soul searching? Realized that by being open about his own journey, he might help others do the same.
It seems like he's moved from feeling obligated to respond to actually choosing to be vulnerable.
Choosing authenticity, even if it's scary. And that's a big transformation.
A big transformation. So yeah, he's on this journey of self-discovery, and he's kind of inviting all of us along for the ride. What do you think this means, especially for someone with his massive platform?
Well, think about it. To be this open on such a huge stage, it's a game changer, especially for his younger fans who are still figuring things out themselves.
Yeah, they're looking up to him. And there's a lot of research that shows when young people see their role models being open about their struggles, it helps them develop a healthier sense of self.
Right. They feel less alone, less pressured to be perfect.
Exactly. Hey, it's okay to not have it all figured out. And that can be so liberating.
And you know what else is interesting? He chose to do this during a live concert.
Yeah, it's not a polished statement. It's just him in the moment.
Raw, unscripted. A real shared moment of vulnerability.
I wonder what was going through his mind as he stood there on that stage.
It had to be terrifying. But it also shows how much he's grown. He's not letting fear control him anymore.
He's choosing to be authentic, even when it's hard, which is something we could all learn from, right?
Absolutely. It's easy to get caught up in what other people think, to let fear hold us back.
But he's showing us that embracing vulnerability can be incredibly freeing.
It's about owning your narrative, even if it means facing judgment.
And the more people who do that, the more space it creates for others to do the same.
Exactly. It's like a ripple effect.
Ripple effect. Okay. But I also think it's important to point out, he's not trying to speak for an entire community or identity.
No, he's just being honest about his experience.
About his process of figuring things out.
Which is something we're all doing, right?
Always evolving, always learning. So what do you think the impact of this is going to be? How might this change the way we talk about sexuality and self-acceptance, especially among younger generations?
I think this could be huge, honestly. For young people who are already questioning traditional norms, this could be incredibly validating.
Like, it's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to explore and change.
Exactly. And it's not just about individual empowerment. It's about families and communities, too.
Like, maybe this will open up more conversations between parents and kids, teachers and students.
More open and honest conversations about sexuality, gender identity, self-acceptance.
Breaking down those barriers and building a more inclusive and understanding world.
That's the dream, right?
It is. And maybe this is a step towards that.
Maybe Mendes's honesty is a step towards that.
A spark that could ignite a larger cultural shift.
A shift that's already happening. Think about how younger generations are challenging gender norms, embracing diverse sexualities.
They're demanding a more inclusive world.
And Mendes, he's not just reflecting that, he's contributing to it.
He's using his platform to normalize these conversations, to challenge the status quo. That's pretty powerful.
Incredibly powerful. And it makes me wonder, how will this be received by different generations? For younger folks, it might feel completely natural.
Right, but for older generations, it might be a bigger adjustment.
That's where the real work comes in, building bridges, creating understanding, even when perspectives are different.
It's about recognizing that everyone's journey is unique, and there's no one right way to define yourself.
We're all human, deserving of respect and acceptance, whether we have labels or not.
So well said. As we wrap up this part of our deep dive into Shawn Mendes' journey, I want to turn to you, the listener. What struck you most about his honesty? Did anything resonate with your own experiences?
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Yeah, your own journey of self-discovery. And think about it. This isn't just about Shawn Mendes, right? This is about a much bigger shift that's happening.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like culturally. There's this push to embrace fluidity, to reject those rigid labels.
Not just about sexuality.
Exactly. Like across all aspects of identity. It's like you saying, hey, we're all complex, we don't fit in boxes, and that's cool.
Yeah, embracing that messiness of being human.
And think about his fans, especially the younger ones. They're at that age where they're bombarded with messages about who they should be.
Who they should love, how they should look.
Exactly. And Mendes is offering something different.
Like he's saying, be yourself, quirks and all.
I bet there are tons of young people listening to his music who are like, finally, someone gets it.
Someone gets it. It's powerful to see someone you admire being so open, especially about stuff that's usually kept secret.
It can totally change things. It can encourage others to embrace their own truths.
It's like permission to be real.
Permission to be real. And go back to the concert thing, doing this live adds another layer, don't you think?
Oh, totally. It's not some calculated PR move. It's just real.
Raw and spontaneous.
Right.
A genuine connection with his fans.
I wonder what was going through his head when he decided to do that.
I mean, talk about scary, but it also shows how much he's grown.
Not letting fear hold him back.
Choosing authenticity over staying silent. And that's a lesson for all of us, isn't it?
It is. It is. It's so easy to worry about what others think, Let that fear stop us from being ourselves.
But he's showing us it's okay to be vulnerable.
Vulnerability can be powerful.
It's about defining yourself on your own terms, even if it's tough.
Even if people judge you.
And the more people who do that, the more it opens things up for everyone else.
Okay, but let's be clear. He's not saying he speaks for everyone.
No, not at all. He's just sharing his experience.
His own journey, which is unique to him.
And that's important, right? We all have our own path.
We're all figuring things out as we go. So how do you think this is going to impact things? How we talk about these things? Sexuality, self-acceptance, all of it.
Well, for younger generations, the ones who are already embracing this idea of fluidity, it could be huge.
Like, finally, a role model who gets it.
Exactly. It normalizes the idea that it's okay to explore, to not have everything figured out.
And that can be so empowering, especially when you're young.
Totally. And it's not just about individuals, it's about families, communities.
Maybe this will spark more open conversations between parents and their kids.
Teachers and their students. about things that are usually hard to talk about.
Breaking down those barriers, creating a more understanding world.
A world where everyone feels accepted.
Yeah, a world where we celebrate our differences.
That's the goal, right?
It is. It is. And maybe, just maybe, Mendes on honesty is pushing us in that direction.
Maybe it's a spark.
A spark that could lead to real change.
And it's not just him. We're seeing this all over. In music, movies, TV.
More authentic representation, more diverse stories.
It's like a movement.
A movement. And he's right at the forefront.
He's showing everyone that it's okay to be yourself, even if you're still figuring things out.
And that's such an important message, especially for young people.
Especially for young people. But it's interesting to think about how different generations will react to this.
Yeah, for younger folks, it might seem totally normal.
But for older generations, it might be more challenging.
That's where the real bridge building needs to happen.
Yeah, creating understanding, even when people have different viewpoints.
Because in the end, everyone's journey is different.
And there's no one right way to define yourself.
We're all human. We deserve respect, labels or no labels.
Beautifully said. So, as we're thinking about all of this, about Shawn Mendes' journey, what I want you to consider is this. His vulnerability, it could change things.
When we share our stories, our struggles, it gives others permission to do the same.
And that creates a more compassionate world for everyone.
It starts with one person, one story.
A ripple effect.
Yeah.
So, as you go about your day, think about this. How can you be more vulnerable? How can you make the world a more inclusive place?
A place where everyone feels seen and accepted.
Yeah, seen and accepted for who they are. And it's interesting, right? Because we're seeing this push for inclusivity, but there's also, pushback against it.
Oh, absolutely. It's like this tension.
Yeah, between those who are embracing these new ideas and those who are holding on tight to the old ways.
Like we're at a crossroads deciding what kind of future we want.
Exactly. And people like Mendes, who are
Cool.
challenging the norms. They're so important.
They're leading the way.
Showing that there's a different way, a better way. And he's not alone, right? We're seeing this everywhere.
In music, movies, TV, this push for more authentic stories, more representation.
It's like, finally, things are changing.
And by saying, hey, it's okay to not have it all figured out, he's taking the pressure off.
Yeah, explore, evolve, be curious. That's a powerful message.
Powerful message. It makes you wonder, though, will the impact be different for different generations?
Yeah, good point. For younger folks, this might all seem pretty normal.
Right, like this is the world they're growing up in.
But for older generations, it might take some adjusting.
That's where we need those conversations, those bridges.
Even when it's uncomfortable.
Because at the end of the day, everyone's journey is different.
There's no one right way to be.
We all deserve respect no matter what.
Exactly. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Shawn Mendes' journey, here's the thing I want you to take away. His vulnerability. It can spark change.
When we share our stories, our struggles, we give others permission to do the same.
And that creates a kinder, more understanding world.
For everyone, it all starts with one person, one story.
One ripple. So as you go about your day, think about this. How can you be more vulnerable? How can you help create a world where everyone feels seen and accepted?
Keep those questions in mind.